Hi, so we're gonna set up the chick brooder now. I've got my brooder plate that I'm gonna plug in.
No, talk now.
Okay, so some people will use shavings right away in their brooder. I'm not going to. I'm going to put paper towel in for the first couple of days because I find shavings makes it a little harder for them to get their grip on the plastic tote. And this is just a tote from Costco that we got. They're pretty inexpensive. And then I'll show you the cover in a sec, but the cover, we just cut out the plastic part and put some hardware mesh because we don't want the kids getting at them or the cats getting at them, and then they can't jump out either. But then it's ventilated as well. So we're gonna lay paper towel down. Also, I don't want them eating the shavings either. All right, so instead of using a heat lamp, we're going to use, it's called a brooder plate. It gets warm, but it doesn't get super hot, and it's a lot less risk of fire for having one of these rather than having a heat lamp. The bulbs can get hot, they can fall and break. There's a lot of issues with those. So I'm gonna use one of these and plug it in. There isn't any temperature setting on these. It's just set to whatever, I don't know, the internal temperature is. And they're not crazy expensive. They're definitely more expensive than what a light bulb is going to be. A light bulb is a lot more affordable, I guess, if you're going that route. But like I said, they are a bit of a fire hazard, so I'd be careful. We did use a heat lamp with our meat birds last year just because it was significantly easier and we needed more heat than what we had for plates. We have two of these. Also, this comes with a plastic cover on top, so when they jump on it and start pooping on it, you can clean it easy. I'll show you that in a second. So I'll put that in there. Also, let me show you if you can see. So it's not super like level. I put one side lower than the other side. I'll probably flip that around. But that way, if they need less heat, they can go to the back where it's higher up. If they need more heat, they can go to the front where it's down further, because they're quite small, obviously, in the first like week. So once they get bigger, then I start to level it out a little bit more, and then you go up and up as they get bigger. Okay, so for a water, I just have this little water. I didn't fill this up, I just have the bottom plate with water in it because when they're little, you don't want them having too much water. You have to be careful that you watch that they're not drowning in the water either, because that does happen. But I just put a little bit in the bottom and then refill it as needed until they get a little bit bigger, and then I'll fill it up. But they don't need a ton of water in the beginning, they just need just enough. And we're gonna put their beaks in the water in a second when I bring them back in, but I'll leave that in there for now with the brooder plate, and then I'm gonna get them some food. I have this little feeder here, I'm gonna give them some food. I don't love these feeders, honestly. They're not expensive and we're gonna use what we have, but I don't know, I feel like this base comes apart so easily, especially once they start getting bigger and they're jumping on it constantly. It's constantly coming apart and making a mess, but we use what we have. I'm not going to go buy a new one just because until this one breaks. But outside we had one that was like this but bigger and it broke. We've gone through a few of these. And then we've got a metal one. Our birds hate the metal one, they won't use it. They prefer plastic ones, but you can get nicer, fancier plastic ones, which we did get for our meat birds last year, and they were fine. We didn't have any issues with them. Also, straighten this out. This cover comes with this. Highly recommend you keep this on at all times. The chicks will jump into this, and if you're not checking on them consistently, they're gonna get in there and get themselves stuck. We check on the birds all the time because the kids are down here wanting to see them. So we would find the chick, but we have had them before when we've had them in the coop where we've gone out several times a day and then they knock this off and then they get stuck in there. So just keep this on. This makes it easier so I don't have to worry about them getting in there. I'm not gonna fill this, but I am gonna put some in there. You could also take this off and just put the feed in the bottom for the first few days if you wanted to, which I might actually do that. And then it just makes it easier. You're not putting as much feed in. I will say you're gonna go through a lot of feed. It's gonna get wasted a lot with these baby chicks. It is what it is. I've never found a solution to not wasting it. As they get bigger, you can get more creative with the ways that you're putting their food in their containers and not having it all spread around, but as chicks, they're gonna waste it. Also, they didn't have any small bags of chick starter, so I had to get the big bag. Didn't get medicated, I never do. The only time I've gotten medicated was for meat birds. That's pretty controversial. Some people say do it, some people don't. We just did because we weren't familiar with meat birds, so the first year we got medicated. It seemed fine. We did still lose a few birds, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna give them about that much. I mean, it's gonna go everywhere. They're probably gonna poop in it, so I might have to put the top on it depending on how they are when I put them in there, but we'll see. I've got my chicks here. I just carried the incubator over to make it easier. I didn't want to take one by one because they were up on a shelf and I didn't want to have them obviously fall. So I'm going to take them out, put them inside. Oh, look at that. Little gray one. Gray, white, and yellow. So like I said, these are not from, you can pet it gently. These are not from our chickens. These are from a friend of mine. There we go. So they're all different breeds. They're just backyard mix. I got two of these little yellow and black ones. They're so sweet. I'm going to give them some water. Okay, so I'm going to show you. There's times that I've done this and times that I haven't, where you dip their beak in the water to get them to drink for the first time. Typically, if a couple of them have already done it, then the rest will kind of figure it out. But if you want to do it, there's this little brown one. My goodness, it's cute. Aren't you just the sweetest? Goodness gracious. So you just very, very gently dip their beaks just here. There you go, right in the water. Oh, goodness. I'll do this one as well. Just make sure, hold on to them.
She doesn't like you when
Careful. There you go, and then they'll start to drink. Yeah. And then they'll figure out that the water is there and start drinking and eating on their own. They'll likely go under the heat plate for a bit to get warm. It's been plugged in for a bit now, so it is warm. But you'll see they'll all kind of scurry under there, and that's where they hang out most of the time.
Yes.
You pet them? Okay, so they're all under the brooder plate. This is where they spend, like I said, the majority of the time for the first couple weeks, honestly. Once they start to get used to hearing your voice and stuff, they'll come out as you come downstairs. This is the cover that will go on top. Like I said, it's just the plastic cover. My husband cut out the center and then we had leftover hardware cloth that we put on top so they can't jump out and nothing can get inside. And it works well. They'll probably be in this crate for a couple of weeks, I would say. And then they're gonna have to go into, we have a bigger rabbit cage that we use when they get bigger, so then they have more room to run around because they do outgrow this quickly. But there's only 6 of them, so they should be fine in this for a couple of weeks until they start to get really either bigger or starting to try to fly. And like I said, we come down a couple times a day and check on them and see how they're doing. This one is adorable. And there's all different, like I said, she's got all different breeds. She's got some silkies as well, silky roosters. So I'm kind of interested to see if any are from a silky. I can't really tell just yet. But I know she's got like Americana mixes and Barred Rocks, Copper Morans. So we'll see how these babies turn out. They are some cute.
Yeah, they are.
This will be the first time since I think we first got chicks that we were hand raising them. They've either been raised by a mama hen or we've had them in the garage just because chickens get messy and gross. But I'm gonna try and hand raise these as much as I can. Same with like getting the kids involved, because our first batch of chickens that we ever did are by far our tamest and still the easiest to pick up, and just they come to us, whereas all of our other chickens that were raised by hens or not hand raised are quite skittish. So I'm hoping these will be very friendly chicks. They are. I'm just cuddling still with this little brown chicken. Also, it should probably go without saying, I don't let my kids ever handle these unless they're sitting somewhere, like directly on the floor, because obviously baby chicks are pretty fragile. There's a bunch of dust. And you don't want them dropping them. They could break a leg or their necks really, really easily. So you want to make sure that if they're handling them very, very gently. And you're always there supervising. My kids know that they're not allowed to pet the chicks. They're not allowed to handle the chicks. They're not allowed to go near the brooder. They're not allowed to go near the brooder unless we're with them. Even my oldest, because anything can happen. Also, if they were, not careful and didn't leave the lid on, the cats could get in. So we just make sure that we are always there when the kids are around the birds. Okay, it's the next day, and I just came down to clean out their brooder box. I usually come down a few times a day because it gets quite gross. They're just eating. I usually come and change this a few times a day. I'll probably put shavings down tomorrow. I just like the first couple of days to be the paper towel so they can grip on it a little easier and they're not eating the sawdust until they're getting used to eating properly. They're in their dish more than they're eating out of it, but hey, come here. No? Okay. Anyway, I wanted to talk about, oh mind, that's a plucker behind me. This heat plate that I got, or have, sorry, that I put in here. We have another one from Amazon that's smaller that gets really, really hot to the touch. You can't even really put your hand on it, it'll burn it. So that's what I meant to say yesterday was whatever heat plate you order, you can get those like heat guns to kind of figure out what the temperature exactly is. So they're not too hot. This one you can put your hand on and it's not going to burn your hand. So it's obviously not going to burn the chicks. The other one I have to be careful because it gets so hot that I can't stick my hand in there. It says it's safe, but I wouldn't trust it. This one seems to be, it's a more expensive one, so it seems to be a little better quality. And like I said, temperature wise, they seem to be doing really well. They're all happy and chirping and everyone's jumping around. Come here. Come here. Come here. See if I can grab one. There we go. Yeah, we were sitting with them last night, petting them, and they're just so sweet. And if you can get them to bond with you from the very beginning, it's so much easier. Because like I said before, we have some chickens that we hand raised and they're great. They'll come right to us. And then the ones we didn't are almost like, they're not feral, but you have to kind of trap them if you need to get them in the house for something or you're trying to check something out. So there's definitely pros to hand raising them. Plus, it's just such a great experience for the kids as well. Sorry. Here's something else as well that this is chick grid. I believe it's chick. Hen growing grid, I guess, technically. It's really expensive. It's like $6 for this whole bag. It's my understanding that chicks at this age don't need it. Anyway, it's my understanding that like where their chick feed is so small until they have to go outside. Once they get outside and they're eating bugs and probably snacks that you're giving them, then you're gonna need to give them grit unless, they're smart enough to find their own. I don't give it to my adult hens and they're fine, but they also free range, so they don't really need it. But as of right now, until they go outside they probably won't go outside until they're closer to 6 weeks because it's February right now and it's gonna be too cold. But just something to remember. Like I said, a huge bag is $6. Another thing people will tell you too is for their water, if you put electrolytes inside their water. I did it once, I think the first time we had baby chicks, and I never did it again. And aside from a couple of chicks that we got from someone else, someone I don't know, I just got them on Facebook, I've never lost any chicks of ours. Any chicks that we've hatched and have been raised, we've never lost. So I'm not too concerned. They seem to be fine anytime we'd give them just regular water. I can't remember if we gave our meat birds electrolytes. I don't think we did. And they seem to be fine as well. Same with kind of like the medicated versus non-medicated chick feed. Like I said, the only time we've ever done that is with meat birds because that's what's recommended, I guess. But these birds aren't going to be exposed to any of the outside elements until they're older, so they should be fine. But if they were being raised inside of a coop, it might be a little bit different because then they're exposed to the older birds who are also exposed to the birds from outside, and you don't really know what they're coming in contact with. But with these guys, they're going to be inside, so it's not going to really matter. I know certain breeds you can check by their wings. I've never done like the vent thing. I would never do that. I don't know how. I don't want to risk hurting the bird. You can do like the wing check where if they have, it's supposed to be if they have 2 different layers to their feathers, then it's a hen, and if it's just the same length across, it's supposed to be a rooster. I don't know how true that is. I've always found though, if their tail feathers grow in really quickly, it's always a hen. Any birds we've raised, we've never, actually I shouldn't say that. We did have one that I was convinced was a rooster until she started laying, but that was the only one we've ever had. And her feathers just grew in wonky in general. But any chick that we've had that's had early tail feathers has been a hen, and then the rooster seemed to take a while to get their tail feathers. We have a little chick out there that is, I think he's about 10 weeks that my hen hatched. And I've known for a few weeks at least that he's a rooster for sure. His comb and wattles are massive already, and he's just an itty bitty baby. But these guys, let's just kind of wait and see what happens, even though it looks like this one's getting some tail feathers. They will also say that you can tell like the personality. Some roosters you could tell as soon as they hatch that they're roosters because they'll run right at you and peck you. Our best rooster that we've had since the beginning, his name is Flapjack. He's always been one of our sweetest birds. As a chick, he would just sleep on us and cuddle with us, and he still runs right up to us. So it's probably true for the majority that they're a little bit more aggressive from the beginning, but not all of them. And then when they imprint on you, they kind of just become really relaxed and they trust you, and it's very, very sweet. You see?